everybody. A very, very good morning to people in other part of the world. Good evening to people in India. Hi guys, how are you guys doing? So good to see people coming into this live. Hi Magnus Kerr. Hello everybody. So yes, we're gonna wait for a few people to join in. Guys, for the ones who don't know me, my name is Love Isani, and yes, I'm your host for the day. Hello, the beard guy. Hello, Shivam. How are you guys doing? How's it been? So, I know people are waiting eagerly for me to come in today. Are you excited for today's session? You know why I'm online, right? So, let's hear it from all of you people that why are we online here today? What are we going to be doing? Yes, we have the man himself already here. So, who's going to be joining us for a live interactive session today? So, are we excited to welcome the star performer, the star celebrity photographer, the one who shoots fashion, the one who travels the world, the one who's shot with such famous celebrities and assisted the best in the world? Are we excited to see him? Hello, everybody. Hi, Universal, Awesome Kid, R. Samanya, Shannon. Hello. So let's get the man himself live here. So, okay. I have sent you a very, very special guest for today. Let's get him here live. Oh, we have him here already.
Oh, hello.
Hi,
How's it?
Felix. So good to see you.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you perfect. I'm just going to turn my volume higher. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
So, guys, I know this man needs no introduction, but I'm formally going to. I'm super excited and elated to introduce Felix to all of you. He's a gem of a person, a wonderful teacher and a wonderful human being who's traveled the world, who's shot with people in different parts of the world. Yes, he's assisted people like Mario and he's assisted Annie also. So it's an honor to have him here, and he's a great educator. He does some amazing workshops. He's got a community of photographers. I think he's got 30,000 people on his Facebook group. Am I right, Felix?
Yeah, Lighting with Felix Kunze. It's a lighting Facebook group.
Absolutely. So
Lots
I'm
to fill
so
up.
happy that Felix, you joined us today. So welcome to Capturing More, Felix.
Thank you. Where in India are you?
I'm in Mumbai.
Ah, I spent 1 month in Mumbai in New Year 2008, 2009.
Wow.
Years ago. Yeah, long, long time ago. I'm not going to show any pictures from that time because it was very early in my career. And then
What were, what
hmm?
were you doing in India at that time?
There was they had the tragic terrorist attacks in Mumbai at the end of 2008, and I went and I was at the time I thought maybe I'm going to become a photojournalist, so I went and photographed like some relief and volunteers that were trying to help out in the aftermath, and I did a similar thing in Haiti. In Haiti they had an earthquake. I think it was 2010, and I went to try to photograph, like become a photojournalist, and then I was on the back of a motorcycle taxi in Haiti, running with a friend from the New York Times, and then we heard some gunshots, and
Wow.
we both jumped off the motorbike. He ran towards the guns. I ran away. So that's how I know I'm not going to be a photojournalist. But in a more celebratory setting, I went to I think it was 2018 or 2017. I went to New Delhi, Jodhpur, Jaipur on a little trip, and I photographed a bunch of things around in
Wow.
that area. I love India so much.
Wow. So good to know this part. I didn't know this side of the story. I mean, I think I always knew you as that hotshot fashion photographer, shooting commercials, working with the best models in the world. So I didn't know this photojournalistic side of you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been focusing in recent years on photographing scientists, explorers, astronauts, geologists, Egyptologists, people that are pushing, the collective knowledge of the world forward. Um, yeah, and it's kind of like, I early in my career I traveled so much, and got so many experiences. It made me realize like there's a lot more than just the there's so much more. What is photography? Like anything could be fashion photography, right? Anything. If you are photographing, like I went to Mongolia and I photographed a geological expedition, and then what the geologists are wearing becomes fashion just because you're photographing people in clothes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Felix, why don't we start? I mean, why don't you tell us a little bit of how did you actually pick up the camera? I mean, can we start from that part? Because I think we just jumped into the India part, but it'll be great for
Well, the India
camera.
part, I'll tell you the story, but the India part was actually a big deal because so I was working like a regular 9 to 5 back in 2008, and I was doing like photography very, very badly on the side.
Okay.
I always like to make the joke in the first 5 years, I did nothing that was valuable, nothing that anyone wanted to see. And with the financial crisis in 2008, I had been looking for a new opportunity, and I got a job in Dubai in the career that I used to do. But they said, okay, in 3 months you can start. So I had a job, but the start date was 3 months. So I said, I'm going to travel. So that's when I went to India. I went to LA. I went to Australia. I did a lot of traveling, and I would always check in like, hey, how's it going with the job? And then one day I checked in and they said, well, you still have a job, but the company doesn't exist anymore because
Oh my God.
they went down in the financial crisis. So I started emailing every magazine editor I could because I had shot some images on my travels, and someone actually bought one of the images and used it as the cover of a calendar. So I made, a tiny bit of money from selling one image. And I thought, right, now I'm a professional photographer. And then I make the joke, I didn't do anything worthwhile for another 5 years. So that's kind of how I got going, and it was really like my career has really been defined by looking at photography as a business and trying to make sure that I never again, like when you're being a photographer, it's all about art. But the business side of it, you cannot neglect it, and you can't, so actually kind of you talk about like fashion photography. When I was starting out, everyone that I know in England was trying to get into fashion photography. And some people were doing actually quite well. They were making, they were getting in with clients. They were shooting for Vogue and blah, blah, but they weren't making any money. So I said, right, I have to do something different here. How do I take photography and still live a good life? Because I didn't want to be a starving artist,
Right. So how did that happen? How did that shift happen?
So I don't know. It's because England has one climate, right? So always in England, it's always cloudy. That's why I grew up. Now I live in New York City. In
Right.
England, you always have the clouds overhead, when it's cloudy above. And then when you're trying to take a picture of someone, the eyes become like the dark circles, right? Like you have the shadow from the brow, kind of like this, right? You would have the shadow here. And so the solution when we photograph is we always bring our chins up towards the light, right?
Right.
But when you have a giant cloud cover, like in England, 95% of the time, and normal people, they don't want to be posing like a model, like da, da, da. So I started using artificial light, so flashes, to just add a little bit of light to the person's face, just a
Right.
tiny bit, to make it like just a little bit of light in the eyes. The difference between having like a little bit of light reflecting in the eyes or
Right.
the dark caves. And so that's how I got into shooting with artificial light, with flashes, with also called strobes, back in the day. And that was also my way. If everyone is shooting the same thing, everyone's trying to shoot fashion photography, like I call it at the time I called it the Tumblr look, because everyone got a Canon 5D Mark II with a 50mm 1.2 lens, which is like, it makes that like really shallow depth of field, so everything in the background is out of focus. And that was kind of like the look that they were doing, and that was the extent of photography at the time. And I thought, right, if I'm approaching photography as a business, then lighting is a way that I can, like, using artificial light is a way I can elevate what I'm doing, bring it up to a higher level, and stand out from everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you didn't want to follow what everybody else was doing. That's why you started creating your own style, is what I understand.
Well, you know, if you follow what everyone else is doing, that's fine, because you might end up being really good at it, whatever. But just from a basic economic sense, if you're starting a business in any field, what you want to do is make sure you do something that's unique.
Absolutely.
You know, you can't just say, oh, I want to be, what's the coffee chain there? Coffee Day?
Yeah, Cafe Coffee Day is there. Now, I mean, right now we've got Starbucks around. We've got
Right,
Costa.
but yeah, Costa, you have all those three chains, right? If you're going to make a
Right.
coffee shop, you need to make something that is different from the others, because otherwise, why does anyone care? And the same is true for photographers. And because we are artists, we so often just ignore all of that, because we think, right, we're going to make nice art. But nice art is not enough, because there's a lot of nice art around. You have to be good at finding something that stands out. So when, you know, you're scrolling on Instagram, this is the experience that everyone has. They're scrolling, 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 scrolling. And what is the thing that makes them stop and look? And that is our job as photographers now, whether we like it or not. When we make a picture that makes someone stop and look, then you have achieved your goal as a photographer now.
Right.
You know?
Felix, continue. I'm going to read out a comment essay in the chat box.
Okay.
The light series was a game changer for me. Love you, Felix. From
Oh,
Don Bhagia Photography. So, I mean, I just thought I couldn't get my eyes off that comment. I said, I want to read that out and I'm going to interrupt you.
who wrote that?
Donna.
Donna. Hi, Donna. Thank you. Very kind. Yeah, we can talk about my class a little bit later if you like, because I made a lighting class, but I don't want to get to that, you know, like.
Absolutely. We'll get to the guys.
Buy my class.
So for all the people who are watching us, if you have any questions, we have a Q&A tab. Why don't you start putting in your questions, because we're going to miss out questions if they come into the chat box. So jump onto the Q&A tab, put in your questions, and I will take all your questions for Felix. I mean, initially I have a few of my questions. After my questions are done, we'll move to the audience questions.
Yeah, the Q&A, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Felix, but let's talk about the business, and like you said, you got into the business side of making money. So if you want to throw some more light, I mean, you created your unique voice, you created a unique style, but how did you actually start making money?
You know, I teach lighting, and that's like the class, the lighting series is my class. So I teach lighting, but I've always found it really interesting, because the business side, like, how do you make a photography career work for yourself? And I think that the way I've done it is not something that I would recommend for anyone else to do it, because everyone else really has a very, very, very different approach. So I'll give you an example. I know a lot of photographers, they do mailers, you know, they send out, they get their best work and they send it out, and they build a list of agents and editors and people that will hire them. And I know that that is a really effective way of marketing yourself. You know, I have a friend who's a very, very successful fashion photographer. She does, she sends mailers out by email, and she's like, do it every couple of months. Send out a mailer to the people. And I'm like, it's a great thing. And I don't do it because it doesn't make my heart sing. So what I found that works the best is I've been focusing on, okay, God, this is a really it actually gets a really deep subject. Okay, philosophical. When you are starting out as a photographer, people think about, oh, how do I develop a style and how do I get an agent? You know, like that's what I was thinking about when I was early on. I was like, if I just had someone who sees how amazing I am, and then they get me out to all these clients, then I will have a career. But what actually happens is when you're developing yourself as a photographer, you have a conversation with yourself about what is it that you actually care about, right? Photography. You have a camera, and then the world is endless of where you can point the camera, right? So you could do fashion, photojournalism, editorial, you could shoot corporate, you could do all of these things. And if I now said, oh, so the way you make money is you approach companies about headshots and then you charge them this much, that's not going to work for someone who's very interested in something else.
True.
So the conversation we end up having with ourselves as photographers, and why I told you at the beginning, you know, I went and tried my hand at photojournalism. The conversation we end up having as photographers with ourselves is, what is it that we care about that we want to point the camera at?
True.
And that is really difficult to answer. That is such a difficult question to answer, because you have to learn about who you are, right? So there are people who are really great fashion photographers, but if you look at them, you can see that. You know, my friend, I always joke, my friend Lara Jade, who is an amazing fashion photographer, she looks fashionable. You know, she embodies it. She knows about clothes. I have no clue, you know? So that's why I've been focusing on portrait photography for the beginning of my career, because I thought regular people are so interesting. You know, regular people, when you put them in a position of power in a picture, like you really bring power to them through a photograph, that's amazing. And that's what made me like feel warm and inspired inside. That's what made me want to get out of bed in the morning, is photographing interesting people. And it didn't matter if they were models or business people or blah, blah. That's how I developed it. So I would start getting hired by people who wanted portraits that elevated them to a higher level. That's where I started. As I got more and more into it, I started developing, like I started looking for opportunities in the sciences. So like I said, you know, explorers, people who are doing scientific projects, who are moving the global, like the knowledge of the world forward, and then photographing them in my style like that. So I ended up photographing with an organization in New York called the Explorers Club, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a club of explorers. And I started photographing for them for free. And my friend Sue Bryce, she always talks about, if you want to get into a community, you need to serve that community. That's the purpose of community. So as a photographer, I started photographing for the Explorers Club for free. And it got me in front of so many of the people that I wanted to photograph. So I found that after 10 years of doing this, I finally admitted to myself, what I want to photograph is people doing space exploration, marine biologists, archaeologists, geologists, those kind of people, because that's what I find interesting. And that formula of having that conversation with yourself about what do you actually care about, and then finding that drive to photograph that, serving in that community, and then getting hired in that community, has worked over and over and over again for me. That's the only formula for business that I think about. But the main thing for business is, I don't know, I think people need to get smart about, is this project actually adding value to what I'm doing? Like there's 1,000 things I could photograph right now that don't add value. They don't move me forward as a photographer, right? So sometimes a project comes up that's for free, and I'll do it because it gets me closer to where I want to be as a photographer. And that's how it's always worked for me. But I've been really good at keeping focused on kind of what I want. And I don't know that everybody is in that position, you know? It takes a long time.
True, but I mean, you rightly said it that you are at a position that you can choose that. But initially, when somebody wants to make money and is starting off, so I mean, I'm sure it's difficult to say no to other commercial work coming your way. So how did you get that focus there?
Of course, I think if you're starting out and you have commercial work coming your way, then you take that commercial work. I mean, that's what being a business person is, right? And I think we're not talking now to people who are in that position, because the people in that position are already doing just fine. If you have commercial work coming your way, take it if you need the money, because I think anyone at that, but when you're starting out, I think, like I said, we all think that developing our style, like everyone's like talking about, oh, I want to develop a style of photography, is the wrong thing to chase. What you need to chase is what is the thing that you want to photograph that makes your heart sing, right? And that's really a culmination. That's the bringing together of all the experiences you've had in your life, all the books you've read. What was your childhood like? Where did you grow up? You know, I mean, let's expand the formula of what a good photograph is, right? There's a great story in a book called, it's called On Being a Photographer. Let me put it in the comments, actually. Here, I'm going to add it in the comments, because then it will live there forever, won't it? Book called On Being a Photographer. And in there, it tells the story of the best photographer in the world is a mother taking a picture of her baby. Like, so you're on the beach and she pulls out her phone and she takes a picture of her baby and sends it to her family. That is the best photographer in the world, and I'll tell you why. She knows the subject completely. She knows her baby better than anyone, right?
True.
So she takes a picture, and it doesn't matter what the picture is that she takes. She gets whatever camera she has, her iPhone, maybe she brought a little point and shoot, whatever. She takes a picture of the baby. It doesn't matter if the picture is good or bad. The only thing that matters is, does the intended audience appreciate it completely? So she sends it around to her family, and they love it. They absolutely love it. That is the only valid definition of a good photograph. A good photograph is not the thing that wins the competitions. It's not the thing that is perfectly exposed. It's the thing that is absolutely appreciated by its intended audience. So when you have a client and you're serving them, you need to make photographs that serve their intended audience, right? So
I mean, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's such a simple thought that you said, but I think a lot of us miss that thought. We all try to those awards.
Yeah. Everything else doesn't matter. So there's, you know, I have my lighting group for photography. I'll also add it here. Hang on. Lighting group on Facebook. Lighting with Felix Kunze. There we go. Where we have people who are like, oh, I want to know, is this a good photograph? My client, I shot it for them, and of course they loved it and they bought it, but I want to know, is this a good photograph? I'm like, you've just said they bought it, they loved it, it's a great photograph. Now, technically we can always improve things, that's fine. But when you're starting out, that's what you should focus on. Does the intended audience appreciate the photograph? And if not, you need to change something. And it doesn't matter if you change the right thing, because if you change the wrong thing and it gets worse, then at least you've learned something.
Right.
But if we wanted to be an engineer about it, that's it, right? If we wanted to break it down to its basic steps, that's it. If you're not getting it appreciated by its intended audience, then you need to change something. And as long as you keep doing that, no matter if you're really bad at it, over time you'll get there.
Amazing. I think this is a very different, I think at a lot of forums, people keep talking about style, find your voice, find your style. But I just love the way you've redefined that entire perspective. And I love it.
I mean, success is the result of lots of random movement random things, and you're just right slightly more than half of the time. You know, you're right slightly more than half of the time, you're going to make it.
Right.
I mean, there's this phenomenon called, okay, so this is really, we're getting abstract, but if a style happens because you're shooting a lot and doing a lot of different things, and if you haven't defined for yourself what is it that makes my heart sing as a photographer, then you're not going to have anything to shoot. But if you are living in, let's say you live in Jodhpur, and I think it's in Rajasthan, right?
Absolutely.
You live in Jodhpur.
India so well.
Yes. So, and you are you are just fascinated. It's the blue city, Jodhpur, right? Yes.
Absolutely.
So you are fascinated by the blue walls and you want to make a project about the blue walls and the people there. And you live in Jodhpur. And you do that because it is interesting to you. Yes, the first few pictures you take might be really bad. But then you carry on, and you learn more and you do more, and you have the biggest collection of images documenting this beautiful city and its people. And you will find you have a style. You will never have to think about having a style. You just go out and you do it. Right? If you want to, the Amber Fort, you know, in outside of Jaipur, the Amber Fort, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. It has Moorish architecture, it has Islamic art and Indian, like all of these things come together. If you want to photograph that place and you do it over and over and over again, you will have a style. But the step that comes before that is, what do you care about? What do you want to photograph?
True.
Right.
So can we just take a question? I have somebody in the audience asking, what is the current project you're working on right now?
So, oh, that's great. So a couple of years ago, I said I'm going full into, here, I'll show you a picture actually, into astronauts, scientists, that kind of thing, because I was really starting to get more into science as a subject in general. I wanted to learn a lot more for myself. I wanted to just, you know, we have so much climate, you know, we have climate has geology and weather, and it's got social aspects, and it's got all sorts of things. I wanted to see what's happening in the space industry with people, you know, astronauts. So I photographed a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, this picture here. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see
I'll
it.
hold it like that. That's the second one along here is Buzz Aldrin. And I photographed, this is 8 of the surviving Apollo astronauts. So these are the people that went to the moon. And I photographed them as a group. And that project I did, but, you know, I put my own budget into making this picture happen with the Explorers Club. And this has led me into really a lot of projects in that world. So I'm going back to Mongolia this year, hopefully, if the schedule works out, to study with a geologist the mass extinction that happened about 365 million years ago. And I'm making that a photographic project. If you go to my website, which I'll link here as well, if you go to my website, you'll see the Mongolia project. I'm trying to make scientists and explorers and elevate them through photography like closer to the status of celebrity, you know, so they look like super cool people that you'd want to trust and learn from. So that's kind of the big project I'm working on. I've got different little things here and there, as well as client work, but the overarching thing. So I'm photographing the Explorers Club dinner again in April. You know, again, I'm pushing towards photographing more of the people that are pushing the world forward. That's what I'm working on.
So, Felix, but this is a very different space that you've picked up. I mean, not a lot of photographers. I mean, 90% of portrait or fashion photographers are either running behind a Vogue magazine, a GQ, or a Bazaar. Versus
Right.
you're running behind a very different direction.
Yeah,
So,
I,
so
you know,
how
you've
generate
brought
something like this?
you've brought it perfectly back around. Um, Finding something that is unique. You know, I really admire the people that do the magazine editorials, but I've tried that and it isn't for me. I just didn't. I was like, you have to shoot for no money for these magazines, and I just like, really, I didn't want to spend my time doing that. And you know, I don't come from money. Like my family, we grew up in East Germany, you know, like before the Iron Curtain came down. So this is like, it's not, I didn't have the luxury of just doing free magazine editorials, because that's the shocker. People, they don't really pay you, the magazines. So I always said, no, that doesn't help me, you know? So I wanted to find a path that is true to who I am as a person, a path that makes me want to carry on and make me want to do the work required to make good photographs. And that's why I'm saying, for business, everyone has to choose their own own approach.
True.
Yeah.
So, but how remunerative is this? I mean, I understand that, I mean, it's a beautiful, different dimension, and I'm sure a lot of people hearing you, watching you here today are going to not sleep tonight. They're going to be searching for their different approach. Like you said, I mean, everybody has their own thing. You cannot cut, copy, paste, and pick up. So this was something that Felix loved doing, and he got into that.
Yeah.
But while we get into doing something that our heart really wants, you know what scares people? That will it
Yeah.
actually pay me? I mean, like you said, you got those astronauts and you did a great picture, which you invested money and you created that shot. But how do you start making money out of it?
Well, so that formula we talked about with the mother photographing on the beach, right? The formula of making, it's really counterintuitive. I really think about what Sue Bryce said to me. You have to serve your community and you will get it back. And that is so difficult for people to understand, because I think when we start out, it's the mindset that changes. You know, I was broke, dead broke for the first few years of my career. I mean, I think so many people go through this. And because I was asking people to give me money, but I wasn't giving them anything. Does that make
Right.
sense? I was like, well, you're not paying me enough and da 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 da. But the thing is, once I found out what is it that I really love doing, then I was able to serve that community, and it all came back to me in a really big way. And my business advice, it's really difficult, because how did I serve my community when I was super broke and I asked everyone for every favor? You know, I asked my friends, can you please help me on this project? Please, for free. You have to help me. This is the one favor I'm going to ask, because I didn't have any money to put these shoots together. But I knew if I did it, I would, you know, I'm photographing, like for the Explorers Club dinner. It's a dinner where a gala where the biggest people in science and exploration come together in one night. So I photographed like 80 sets of portraits. And if you go to my website, you also see the Explorers Club on there. 80 portraits in one night. And then each of them I'm giving for free a digital version of their picture. But I ask them, if you want to support this project, please buy prints. And they've always done it. They've always come back. So that's how I've been managing to break even on that project, right? So
Beautiful.
I spend this amount and I get that amount back from doing prints, but I give them something first. And after I did this for a while, people started hiring me in that community. I started getting work in that community because they saw me as someone that was contributing to the community rather than just going in and trying to take something. And
I
that's
love that.
what's worked for me.
Honestly, Felix, I'm going to clap for you. I mean, you said something very powerful, and I really want to clap for you for this, because I think it's a lot of people don't think in this direction.
Right.
I love the fact what Sue told you, that serve the community, and you're truly doing that, because a lot of us make it a profession and we just want to make money, and we want to first ask before serve. So I think I totally
Right.
love.
And well, thank you for saying that. But, you know, I also take that approach with my education. So the Facebook group, Lighting with Felix Kunze, it's completely free. And if you follow the rules, you can ask a question in there and I will answer it. It might take me a while, but I will get there, or the community will answer. But I give the free advice, tips, anything, right? But then we also have a class that people can buy.
True.
But I think if you serve and we make a place where people can learn, then it is very simple for them. It's an even back and forth, you know?
I have, we do the same thing at Capturing Wow. I mean, we are in a different part of the world, but I remember the day we had a lockdown. So we started Capturing Wow in 2019 in India. So
Yeah.
I'd like to just share my story. I got into photography in 2005. 10 years of photography, I was successful, I was happy, I was making money. But after 10 years into photography, I didn't know where was I going. You know, I mean, sometimes you lose a purpose, you lose a direction that, okay, people know you. I was one of the youngest fashion photographers in Mumbai city. But after a point, I didn't know where my life was going. 10 years into photography, I decided to quit photography and I happened to visit America. I was at Las Vegas, I attended Photoshop World.
Yeah.
Coming together community, while I decided to quit photography, but Photoshop World gave me a new perspective and I said, okay, I'm going to go and start again. And ever since, I remember those 4 days at Photoshop World in Vegas, I decided I want to start a community in India.
Yeah.
And now it's over 3 years I've been doing, and I've exactly been doing that. Like, I mean, I've been reaching out to photographers all over the world, getting them onto this platform. And I just want people to get inspired. So I totally agree to the fact of serving, because the day in India, the lockdown was decided, I said, okay, we're going to go and do these free webinars. I've been doing free Instagram live sessions and Zoom webinars. So we try to do every week a webinar for our audience, and just for free. We don't charge a single penny. I
Right.
mean, totally believe it's about serving the community. And today, as creative artists, we all need to learn from each other.
I'm going to clap for you.
So, I mean,
That's
I
great.
totally love the approach. I mean, because I've been following the same approach and I've built a huge audience who come to Capturing Wow. I remember while the pandemic was at its peak, I have got messages and emails from photographers writing to me saying, you know, I didn't have a purpose and I wanted to finish my life. But watching positive content, I mean, learning new things, they get inspired and they want to start again. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to start my career, but I started back again because of Photoshop World. And that's
Right.
what today is doing for people. So I think it's so important to serve. So I love it, what you're serving.
I mean, let's break it down in engineering steps. Yeah. You're starting out as a photographer and you define your first category. You want to photograph the socialites of Mumbai, right? And photography is one of the only careers where I can see this really is so easy. So you find one, let's say it's Marine Drive, right?
Right. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
um,
You you know India so well. I'm so impressed. I never knew this.
we will go to CST station today. We will
I'm
go
going
to
to look back
CST
for you to
station
come to
today.
India. I'm going to be looking
I
forward to.
love it. I love Mumbai so much.
Perfect. I'm going to be looking forward for you to come back again, and we need to catch up in person in India.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's say you want to photograph people on Marine Drive who are maybe doing charity projects, right? You say, oh, I am a portrait photographer. You find one who's doing that. You ask her or them, please, can I take your picture? And you make value. So, I bring lighting because I want to make value. I don't want to just turn up with the camera and go click. I want to make value. If I do that, she will talk to her friends about it. He or she will talk to their friends about it. And maybe they will get an inquiry. And if you don't, maybe you didn't create enough value for that person. So you see, how can I make the picture better? and you go to the next person, and you try it again. You will, if you keep doing that, get in with all the charity people who are doing charity work on Marine Drive. That's it.
Oh, wow. Beautiful
Right?
example. Beautiful example.
Yeah. So, or you go, like we talked about, maybe you love the Indian train network and you go and want to photograph for the, you go to CST station and you find a person that you can photograph. When you start there, that's it. You just start.
No, I
So,
think people used to say that, okay, you need to find your niche, where people felt portrait photography was a niche. But thanks for breaking it down that within portrait photography, you can find actually you're calling it an identity. I think what you're talking about is finding your unique identity or creating a unique voice.
yeah.
So I hope all my follower friends who are watching us today right now, I hope what Felix is trying to communicate and convey to you, that you may be a great photographer, but find a unique style, and that's where you'll be known for.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to, the style comes from doing this, right? Like CST station again. We walked down to CST station, because I think there was a coffee day near there. Anyway, I'd go there all the time because I found it amazing, because I really love how the trains are just this connection, the infrastructure of it. And well, this is one of the things I wanted to say. Let's use CST station as an example. It is a very specific, unique place. It's very active. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of people there. It is CST station, right? It's the right
Yeah, absolutely.
word? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's been a long time. So going down there, off we go, walking down there. Da, da, da. If you are, photographers always often tell me, oh, there's nothing where I live that's interesting, right? So if you're a commuter going through that station every single day, you will not find it interesting. But me coming and visiting for a few weeks in Mumbai found it fascinating. CST station, wow, fascinating. Because it's so different from anything else I'd seen before. And that's why I love India. Like every country I go is different from where I am now, And when I first came to New York, it was so different. And now that I live here, it's no longer different. But if I'm photographing New York, I have to put myself in the mindset of someone who is not in New York. So if you go and you want to photograph the railway workers at CST station, you have to take that approach. You have to look from outside, because everyone else will think it's different and interesting.
Amazing, amazing. So, okay, Donna says you are both too cute. Thank you for making my day. What
Off
makes my
to do what makes my heart sing. Oh, Donna Borgia, hi. Lovely.
amazing, Felix? Before we let you go, I mean, thank you firstly for being so honest. I love the way you've given examples to people. I'm sure there are a lot of ideas running in people's mind that okay, what they're gonna do. For the audience, for my friends here in the audience, why don't you tell me? Have you got a new idea? Are you going to be doing a new project? I mean, I've always believed in creating some personal projects, but Felix, I'm going to be honest. I mean, I have not been doing personal projects.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been doing commercial jobs, but right now, today, here, you've inspired me to do a personal project series for sure. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to you. I mean, I'm going to make some different images, and I'm going to give you the credit for the personal project series that I'm going to start. I'm going to find that little interesting thing that I want to do. But thank you for sharing this idea, because I know I'm going to do this. I see the beard guy saying even he's going to do this. So any of you guys, have you got an idea? I want to know what's your idea. What are you going to do? So Ravan says Felix is the man. Thanks all you
I
do for the community.
Yeah, I mean, the personal project, I've got, I'm definitely, how, I'm working on a project to do with groups of people in an interesting way, and I'll be putting out more about that. But I do want to know what other people are working on. What kind of personal projects are you putting on your vision boards,
No, I mean, I'm going to, tonight, I'm not going to sleep. Before I sleep tonight, I'm going to decide a series. I mean, I've been wanting to do this for a while. I know personal projects are important, but I've not got the time to do it. But I'm now going to make it a point that I want to create a different series. Like you said, you got into doing the science guys. I want to find, I mean, I do portraits, I do fashion, but I'll try to find a different space that I want to do.
I mean, it's really hard because you have to take yourself and then look at your life from outside.
Right.
If you go through CST station, you have to imagine that it's the first time.
True.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So guys, I'd like to, I mean, Felix wants to know, I also want to know that what's your idea, what's your personal project that you're doing, or what is the new idea that Felix has put in your mind? I mean, it'll be great to know from the audience. You guys have been here for a while. Why don't you tell me what's your thought process? What is the different project you're going to be doing right now? So Sheikh Abu Masai is already on it. It is soul satisfying, especially when going beyond referencing.
Yes. Bryce Craig here, he says, I'm going to create a series of portraits of ranchers in the West. I guess he means the West of the United States, struggling with water shortages. That's a great project. I mean, that's National Geographic right there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So Felix, thank you very much. I mean, it's been brilliant hearing from you, talking to you, and I think you've really inspired a lot of people here today. So thank you for just being honest and sharing how you got into doing and how you created your own voice. Before I let you go, there's this one series I saw. Can you talk on one of your latest series on Instagram that I saw? This one?
Oh, yeah. So that's
what's the idea behind this?
Let me see if I can pull up the full image here. I think I have it. So yeah,
I've also shown it. It's here. I've got it here.
Okay, like the full picture. Oh yeah, look at that. I'll put it big on the screen if I can find it. Hang on. The Halloween is this event that happens here in the US every year on the 31st of October, and people dress up in all sorts of stuff. And in New York, it's like a really kind of crazy, over-the-top situation. And what I've been doing as a personal project for years now is going on the street, and I just tape a small paper backdrop to the wall and have a light, and I photograph people off the street. And I'm trying to get a sense of kind of like what Halloween is like in a specific area. So I actually done this also in LA. I did this in Florida, depending on where I am for work during Halloween. And so I've been creating these kind of series, and I think it's on my website also for Halloween.
Do you mean the series is shot on the street?
This is shot on the street.
Amazing.
Yeah. So let me see if I have a behind the scenes here that I could show about how we do this. Yeah. You can see it here. So that's the red backdrop we put up. And then I shoot it on the street with the light. This is at night. And I just go to like, what are the venues that have cool Halloween parties? And yeah, do that usually outside. I just ask people to pose.
Amazing. So you don't celebrate Halloween, you just capture Halloween in this manner.
Yeah, because I hate dressing up. It's such a performance. I'm like, I love other people doing it, but I always feel like, you know, if someone made a great costume for me, maybe I'd do it, but I'm not that good at it. So I was just like, this is a way I can still take part in something that I think is amazing, but I'm just really bad at it. My hair's going crazy. Yeah.
I love the idea. I mean, that's a brilliant idea that what you said. I mean, I thought it's a studio portrait, so I thought you've got these guys together in your studio, but it's amazing that you went on street and you've just...
That's far too much work.
And that too, all these pictures are with single lights.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's the retouching. We put it all together, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Felix, thank you very much. I mean, it's been a wonderful time talking to you. We look forward to you with us at Capturing Wow for such more sessions. We'd love to probably catch up again with you on Instagram Live. Or
especially if I come to India again.
Absolutely. That's going to be great. I mean, that will be great to catch up in person. But since we do a lot of webinars, It'll be great if we can get you in for a short preview webinar of your lighting series or something. So
Yeah.
on Zoom, you could probably take our audience down with some of your little quick hacks.
Who knows? Who knows? Let's talk.
Absolutely, for sure. I'd love to keep in touch with you. I see so many thank yous and messages coming and so many hearts coming in the chat box.
So perfect. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Felix. I'm going to see you soon. Thank you for tuning in and being part of Capturing Wow.
Okay, thank you.
Get to join Felix's Facebook group. And why don't you tell them about the course that you have before you go?
Oh, yeah. So we do have a lighting class. It's called the Lighting Series. I'll drop the link here. It's the studio lighting class for people who are not technical, who don't like mathematics, who don't use a light meter, because lighting is really simple, and I can show you how. It's not, I don't want to, just have a look. Just have a look. Or join the Facebook group, and then you'll see what it's all about. I don't have to do a big explanation or sales here.
Perfect, amazing. So I'm going to recommend all our audience to tune in, and if they've not got their hands on your lighting series, to look at it and get hands on it.
Okay, great. Thank you
amazing.
so much.
See you soon. Bye. Take care.
Bye. Have a good day.
See you. So guys, I hope you got inspired. I hope you learned something new today. I hope you got some new ideas. Send me a DM. My name is Love Israni. You can write to me on my personal Instagram account or to Capturing Wow. I'm going to see you soon. We have another Instagram live session happening tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for a live session again. Bye guys. See you. Take care.